Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Blue, and we are back for the final week of this patch, week 15. Those of you that have been there the entire time, thank you so much. For those of you that have not, I've been doing weekly updates along through since Battle for Azeroth. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to do this through 8.1. Let me know. Leave a comment if you like the videos, or if not, maybe I'll just do updates and different things like that. So, I am going to finish it off. We're going to finish it off like how we started. So this is week 15. We're going to go over a few things for this video. First of all, I suggested you all to go in there and to go through your Raider IO, try to go through his boomkin, and I want to talk to you about something. First of all, let's go through here. Let's show you how we're doing. So, this is my Raider IO. My DPS was like 200, 300 when I first started. Goodness, I don't know what's going on. So I went at it for a week, like I suggested you guys went at it, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go some boomkin. As you can see, all here, they're all pretty much the same affix except for Siege, which I had did previously, I guess. So they're all done this week, and did okay, did decent. This is all pugged as boomkin, and I wanted to say something. So here it is right here. Here's my overall. I got over 1K, so not too bad. It is what it is. I was going pretty ham on the tank for one time until like I got around like rank 5 and then I stopped. Can definitely do better now. But I wanted to share with you guys something. So I've did a week of Boomkin, right? And I want to share how I felt about Boomkin. And I want to start with the positives. I really enjoyed Boomkin. I've never played a ranged class. I thought it was fun. It was something new, right? And I thought it was I don't want to say easier because some bosses obviously are easier. And I'm thinking like, some bosses are easier, some are more difficult. I'm thinking Freehold, where the first boss, like if you're ranged, stuff's dropping at you, the bird's kind of going at you. So it is a little bit more difficult in that aspect. But you have the bird jump, which is your wild charge. So your wild charge ability makes it really nice because you could just jump. It's this button on this one. So you can pretty much in the jump is just such a low cooldown. It made it really nice, right? Now, I enjoyed it. It's different. I thought the rotation was extremely simple. And I see that maybe people can get bored with the rotation. I didn't get bored with it. I thought it was fun. The only thing I did not like about Boomkin is the rotation was heavily on, or your damage was really heavily on just 2 dots. You just had 2 dots. Moonfire and Sunfire, I may say them wrong incorrectly. So it was mostly about those, so just make sure you keep your dots up, which is always the case, with Pharaoh, you keep your dots up, but with Boomkin, it's just like so much of your damage, and it's just those 2 dots. And then it's just like do your fillers. You have 2 buttons to do your fillers, and then you just have either a hard-hitting cast or AOE. And the thing about Boomkin, I'll just put it out there so we can finish it up, is I thought it was fairly weak. It just revolves so heavily on your cooldowns. If your cooldowns aren't up, you're doing kind of crappy damage, and if your cooldowns are up, you're doing really good damage. It's like there is no middle ground. I felt like, and I may be playing it wrong. That's fair. I totally understand that. But I felt like that's what it is. It's either like one pack I'm going to do crazy good damage, and the other pack I need to, I'm not going to be doing as much damage, right? So that pack I'm not doing much damage. Maybe I'm conserving my star power, right? So that means the next pack I'm going to be doing more. So I could just, and that's what it was. It was just like an up and down. And if you didn't have your cooldowns on boss fights, like unfortunately you're going to be low on the damage meters. You heavily need your cooldowns, and that's not the case with Pharaoh. So I want to show you right here. This is DPS meters. Don't look at this one. This is a Boomkin, by the way, but this Boomkin was like really undergeared. What I want to show you is this is actually an extremely stab wherever you are. I don't know what I ran with this guy. This guy was really geared. He was like super top notch. Like he's running mythics. He's got all his like super upgraded gear, and I just want to show you guys like we were competing. This is one boss fight. And Feral, as it is right now, like we're not doing that great AoE. We do okay AoE. But on the boss fights, I was keeping up with this guy. I was doing really well. So this is the overall damage. And this is mostly AoE fights that he was excelling in. A few fights he was a few boss fights he was out DPSing me. But I mean, other than that, we were like competing really well, and I was impressed with Feral. I think it's viable. I've never feraled in Mythic Plus for a high key, and I did that, and I was like, man, you know what? I prefer this over Boomkin. But Boomkin it's a nice change. But that's a whole bunch of time, and that's pretty much it for the weekly update. But what I do want to get into, everyone, is the updates. Okay, I'm not going to be going over. I'm not going to be making videos going over the updates, except for now. When the new patch hits, I just want to go hard into like what you want. So what kind of like talents you should be running, how to do your combos, how to do your rotations. Those are things we're going to go over next week, and I'm really excited about those. So we're going to get the new stuff out of the way today, and this may be a longer video. I do apologize about that, but like I said, we're just getting it out of the way now. So let's go. So it's going to go this is everything that is available as of right now that we're going to be hitting. So Wild Charge is no longer on the global cooldown. As for ferals, I'm gonna you know um, uh, push this more towards ferals, and everybody else you're going to hear. I'm going to go over everything. But as for ferals, this isn't a big deal for us because usually our Wild Charge, um, it had a distance limit. So usually you'd Wild Charge, and by the time the GCD went up again to actually use a spell or an ability while we're Wild Charging in, you're just doing it by such a far distance at the time you could already do it. So it's not going to be a big change for us. In case you want to Moonfire all the way back here while you're charging in, you could do that because it's not on the global cooldown anymore. Okay, so right now let's go over Azurite changes. Arcanic Pulsar, so it replaces Sunblaze, which was a pretty crappy Azurite trait. So this one's pretty cool. They're making this pretty much like a single target ability for the Boomkin. So that's actually pretty cool. I'm excited about this. So Star Surge's damage is increased by 429, and so this is your single target ability. And then every 9 Star Surges gain Celestial Alignment for 6 seconds. So as I understand, when I ran Boomkin, I had something else. So I think I had Celestial Alignment or something like that, where I had to keep on rotating my spells. But I'm pretty sure that single target is just more of your Star Surge, just like casting Star Surge when nothing else is like procced or whatever. And then so that's pretty cool. I think that's going to be really good for single target. Okay, Autumn Leaves healing is reduced by 25%, so they're just reducing the healing of Autumn Leaves for Resto, but they're increasing the rejuvenation rate by 1 second. So that's pretty good because rejuvenation is like it's a pretty strong dot, so that's kind of nice that you can actually keep your dots rolling. That's not bad. Okay, let's go on for the bear. Burst of Savagery. Okay, so this replaces the bark skin, reducing physical attacks against you. Okay, so this was an okay, but consuming gore grants you mastery. Great, we want mastery as a bear, and has a 15% chance to activate gore, which is pretty much just a damage ability. So this is really good. This isn't bad. The only thing I don't understand about this is an Azurite trait, and it says consuming gore grants you 307 mastery for 5 seconds, and has a 15% chance to activate. So, like, what is this? Is like a proc chance, like being attacked or whatever? I guess this is just like a proc chance that when you're getting attacked. So this is actually, if that is true, you pull massive mobs, and like they're all have a chance to get, gored. Which is great. And I'm guessing this thing's probably not going to be stacking for a whole bunch of mastery. Maybe. That'd be great. Okay, let's go on to Resto. Early Harvest, it replaces the fungal essence. So that's pretty much where you healed extra if you had your mushroom down. Wild Growth expires. When Wild Growth expires, it heals the target for an additional amount if they are injured, or reduces the cooldown on Innervate by 1 second. This is pretty cool. I do like this. I think this is more of a raid, one of raid ones, because Wild Growth is pretty strong in raid. They're making it stronger by just by increasing the healing on it. So I think this is definitely a raid Azurite trait. So that'd be very interesting. All right, let's go on to Feral. This is our only Feral spell. There's two Feral, well, three Feral spells, right? So, Gushing Lacerations, Rip deals additional damage periodic, or deals additional periodic damage, okay? And has a 6% chance to award a combo point each time it deals damage. So each time it has a small chance to give you another combo point. So, I mean, in effect, it's really good, but the damage is really bad, but the damage is increased by 400. So, it says Rip. Now, I'm not sure if that is going to relate to the new Feral multi-rip. If it does, this would be an extremely strong talent, especially because it does look like it's buffed by a substantial amount, but we'll have to see, obviously. If this isn't for the multi-rip and it's more single target, we'll see how strong our rip is and if that's going to really affect it. So High Noon now increases Sunfire periodic damage instead. Was direct damage. Okay, our other Feral, Jungle Fury, it replaces Shredding Fury, and so Tiger's Fury increases your critical strike by 339 in the last 12 seconds. So that's pretty nice. So when you pop Tiger's Fury, um, you're already going to be doing a lot of damage now. It's just like going to be increasing your crit. All right, Power of the Moon now increases Moonfire periodic damage. Sorry, was direct damage, and now grants Moonfire damage a chance to grant Lunar Empowerment. So that's pretty cool. Okay, Reawaken Absorption doubled. So this is pretty much everybody's, they can choose this. And now grants the target of your rebirth a well-fed buff. This is interesting. So the well-fed buff says caster devours their barbed trout, increasing the damage they deal by 25%. That's huge, but it's only 5 seconds. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I may get like one spell off. Or if you're melee, it's just like, oh, I got rezzed in this location. Now I got to run back to the boss. So it's cool, but I mean, not a lot of use, really. Okay, so new Switch Hitter, an ability from your chosen affinity talent, or affinity, grants an additional bonus for 20 seconds. So that's kind of neat. Still don't really know what it is, but each class can choose, a different on the talents. Like if you're Boomkin, you can choose like Feral or Bear or Resto. So it looks like it grants some other affinity or something cool for it. Okay, so the last Feral, Untamed Ferocity. It replaces Raking Ferocity. So combo point generating abilities deal additional instant damage and reduce the cooldown of Berserk. Let me see this through again. So this is extremely strong, right? It says Untamed Ferocity. So it doesn't say which ability. It just says any combo point generating ability deals additional damage and reduces the cooldown of King of the Jungle by 0.3 seconds, or by Berserk or whatever by 0.3 seconds. So this is an extremely, extremely strong talent for long fights, right? This is pretty good for dungeons, not too bad for dungeons. I'm thinking this of just like a long fight, so like a raid fight, where you're just popping, you pop your Berserk, and then you're just like casting a crap ton of spells, and then it's just like by the time you're done with that, your Berserk is going to be, it's going to be like the cooldown's going to be substantially lowered, which is awesome. And then you can use it again. So this one's just going to be just try to use as many Berserks. Maybe you can use an extra Berserk in a boss fight that you normally wouldn't. So really cool. I actually like this, and I would like to test this out. The damage, of course, is really small, but you're getting Berserk. So it's kind of strange, especially because Feral, their haste buff has been taken away, right? So casting these, with our haste buff gone, that means our energy is dipping down a little bit lower. We're going to get a little bit more energy starved than we were. Okay, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So balance changes, mastery. Starlight now affects Star Surge and Solar Empowerment at full value, and it was half. Stellar Flare, damage increased by 25%. Twin Moons, damage bonus of Moonfire reduced to 10%. It was 20%. This is what I was talking about, how like a lot of their damage was just Moonfire. So Moonfire deals 10% increased damage to, and also hits another nearby enemy by 15 yards. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Moonfire is just like their top spell, and it was weird. With that gone, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough for them, I think. But anyways, especially with the Feral changes, I think Feral's going to do pretty good, and they might be suffering a little bit. So let's go. Okay, so Feral, right off the bat. So Feral spec aura no longer has a hidden 25% bonus to haste. So what does that mean? Well, it means our auto attack damage is going down because we're not going to be auto attacking as much, right? Our energy is going to go down. Our, it's that which is going to affect how much spells we're able to cast during a fight. So it's going to be a big change. It's going to be a big change. Okay, mastery. I have no clue what this is. So mastery, it says razor claws. It says channel for 1 second. Strike twice in quick succession, inflicting physical damage to an enemy. Now includes finishing moves. I've never seen this before. I don't know what the heck this is. Um, I think this was a mistake. So mastery, and then they're supposed to tell you the mastery for Pharaoh, which actually just says it used to increase the damage of our bleeds, but now it's going to increase the damage of our bleeds and finishing moves, which we only have one finishing move that's not a bleed, which is just Ferocious Bite. So it's pretty much saying Ferocious Bite is now also affected by Mastery, which is great. Okay, Ferocious Bite is a heavy damage dealing ability, so we'll see that. And here it is, Ferocious Bite. No longer refreshes the duration of RIP if the target is below 25% health. Okay, so you may not have known this, but Feral did have quite of a, what do you call it for warriors, where an execute phase. Really small damage increase during execute phase, okay? So when the target was below 25%, instead of having to rip, we could just straight bite. Okay, now we're going to actually have to just do what we normally do and just like, okay, my rip's getting low, I'm going to rip and then bite next, right? So you can't just bite all the time. And that's fine. It is what it is. Especially now with rip being affected, the damage is going to stay the same and it's just being affected by time, which is really cool. So you could be like, hey, I'm only going to rip like 2 combo points, right? Because the boss isn't going to last much longer, and then maybe I can sneak off another rip. Really cool. I really like that ability. I really like the change of that because it does give you a little bit more options, especially when the boss is getting so low and you don't have this ability anymore where you could just keep on biting him. It's just like, okay, I can't just keep on biting him and refreshing and rip, but maybe I'll just put 2 combo points into the rip, get that out of the way, and then just try to get bites out to finish the boss down. Okay, so MAME energy costs reduced by 30. So you're going to see this a lot. These energy costs are reduced, and why? Because we don't have any haste anymore. Okay, so I think they're trying to fix that. So main energy cost reduced by 5 pretty much, and damage increased by 50. So that's kind of nice for some PvP stuff. Okay, new Primal Wrath. This is our Rip AoE. Finishing move that deals instant damage and applies Rip to all enemies within 10 yards. Lasts longer per combo point. Okay, so I still don't understand this. I don't understand if you should be using this single target because it says it does initial damage and applies Rip. So does this just replace Rip? If you take this, does it just replace Rip? I'm not sure, honestly. We'll see what it does. We'll see how it is. Okay, Shred. Damage increased by 20%. This is huge, guys. This is really big. What this is going to do is it's going to make, we used to have 2 viable talents, and once you start getting a little bit geared, it start just turning into the, what did I call it on my videos? The parsing talents. This is going to make the parsing talent pretty much our only talent, okay? I haven't been watching a lot of videos. I haven't been researching. I don't play the betas or the testing 8.1 tests. I don't do that. You know, this is just me speculating and looking into it. But I haven't looked in videos. I have looked at the new Azurite traits, and a lot of it is going to be buffing our shred. You know, what is it really quickly? There is a lot of wild flesh running, right, which affects our shred. It can increase our shred damage and increases our brutal slash damage. Okay, so that said, with shred being damaged and increased by 20%, it's going to make this talent pretty much, I think, just speculating, this talent's going to be the main talent. Okay, and damage bonus from stealth reduced by 30%. So what does this mean? So our damage from stealth is reduced by pretty much 20% of what it used to be. Okay, so it is giving this kind of talent. I'm not going to say this talent because obviously the talents are going to change, but how this is where it's just like, oh, okay, except it's kind of getting away from incarnation. Because what does Incarnation do? The only reason we go Incarnation King of the Jungle is because it makes our shreds as if we're stealthed. So we're doing 50% increased damage, right? But if we're getting less damage, it's kind of making us not want to do Incarnation. So maybe there's a better option for us. And that's kind of what it's doing right here. Just like, so maybe it's saying like, hey, we don't want, shreds getting damage increased, but like this damage increase with Incarnation is a little bit too much. It's a little too strong. So we're kind of kicking it back. Maybe we want you to do other options. So other options not as shred. I want you to try to fill the rotation with maybe increasing your rip or something else. I don't know. Okay, so rip cost reduced to 20. So we're seeing the cost reduced by 10 right here on the rip. So that's great. Combo points now increase the duration. And that's all it is. So every rip you do is going to be the same damage each tick, but the longer you put on it, the longer it's going to last. That's all it is. Rip's pretty easy, very simple next patch. Okay, Savage Roar changes. Okay, so now grants 10% damage. Great. So it's down by 5, but it now grants 10% energy regeneration, right? So like we are getting our haste gone, but we are seeing this is our only ability for energy regeneration. I like Savage Roar. I hope it's viable, especially because it's going to give us the energy regeneration rate. That's so we're not going to be getting hit as hard by haste. I want to speculate. I hope I can use it. I think it would be viable, but it could be the thing. Could be something like, hey, at the beginning of the patch, we're going to be starved. We may need to do Savage Roar at the beginning of the patch, but towards the end of the patch, when, maybe we get more haste or when things figure themselves out, we kind of lead away from it. And that's kind of how it always starts. There's a beginning talents and there's an end talents and more, stronger talents. Okay, so now let's go. Shred of Blood. Each enemy hit by Thrash reduces the cost of swipe by 3 energy for the next 6 seconds. So I was thinking about this. Okay, I honestly think Brutal Slash is gonna be your butter, right? But I'm like, what is this? Like, why would I want to use this? And I was thinking about it, and the only thing I can think of that this may outdo damage, right, is if we're talking about so many mobs, like maybe raid. It happens in raid sometimes. There's just so many mobs, right? And I'm like, well, I could Brutal Slash them, but what if they live for a long time where it's just like I'm continually waiting on my cooldowns for Brutal Slash, and there's so many of them. And I was like, maybe this would do more damage in that way where I can thrash them and then I could just swipe for an infinite amount, right? So it's just like, yeah, Brutal Slash does more damage, but like over time, I'm getting so many more swipes out because the energy is like nothing, right? And if they're living for long enough where Brutal Slash, that initial damage doesn't chunk them down, then this would outdo it. So I think that's the only thing I can think of is doing this, is if you got a ridiculous amount of mobs and you just go at them like this. So do I think this is great for Mythic Plus? Not really. Do I think I don't really see this good for anything, because even in raid I think you might even be doing Brutal Slash as a single target rotation versus this you can't do anything single target, right? It's just straight big AoEs. So that's what I think that is. Um, we'll have to see, testing. So let's go down to our Guardian. Guardian's actually pretty interesting. All damage abilities increased by 12%. This is huge for us. This is really good because I run my Guardian with Incarnation, and that's pretty much my damage. That's the only time I can actually do really good damage. And I've been running with different tanks, and like some tanks can do really good damage. I was running with a Paladin, and he was pumping out really good damage consistently. And it's just like, oh man, like I felt like I could do a lot of damage on my bear, but it was always really dependent on that cooldown, right? And this guy, this paladin, he's just doing it consistently, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. I want to do more damage. So this is great. So this is actually going to help our damage a lot. Maybe it'll keep us up with some of those tanks that are just doing high damage, right? Okay, so now Stampeding Roar, decreased by a minute. Really great. This is going to actually help us run through dungeons. This is cool. Something I'm not happy about, right? Okay, so Ursol's Vortex replaces Intimidating Roar. You guys know I love Intimidating Roar. I stand by it. A lot of you guys kind of tried to, for you tanks, you try to get at me for those videos like, oh, you like Intimidating Roar. It's like, yeah, dude, it's freaking sick. I like it, and now they're taking it away, so I'm pretty bummed. This is not as strong as Intimidating Roar at all, but this is cool. So whatever. Conjures a vortex of wind for 10 seconds at the destination, reducing the movement speed of all enemies within 8 yards by 50%. The first time an enemy attempts to leave the vortex, the winds push him back to the center, right? What's the cooldown on this? A minute. It is what it is. We'll make it work, right? Okay, Restoration. These are actually cool changes. I like this. Restoration. Direct healing damage reduced by 10% and overall healing, over time healing reduced by 40%, right? Reducing the big, resto thing. The raid restos just pop your tranquility. Watch those meters go up. Watch everybody's health go up. You're big balling, right? Well, now wild growth is increased by 10%. Wild growth, man, that's kind of what it was. It was more. It was like tranquility in your wild growth, and then your few other spells. But it's just like I like wild growth. This is actually gonna buff your. This is gonna buff Mythic Plus, which is really cool. Mythic plus Resto Druids, and Resto Druids are actually really strong already. I feel like, so that's cool. But that's it, everyone. That's it for the changes. I do apologize. I'm sure this video is going to be really long, but I'm excited. I am excited. I'm a little tired. You probably can't tell, but I am really excited to bring you guys some videos. Oh, something I want to show you. I didn't get to show you this. So remember we talked about shred. Shred damage is increased. So here's the talents I was running. I showed you guys. So now look at this. This is my shred, doing 34% of my damage. And shred's getting buffed by what? Shred's getting buffed by 20%. So, Shred's strong. Shred's going to be pretty strong next patch. I'm excited for it. But that's it, you guys. I do hope you enjoy the video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want me to do some videos for certain specs. I'm going to have a list of things I want to do. Add to the list. I'd be excited to bring you guys some content, but that's it. That's it for the final week of this patch. It's over. We're done. Awesome. We made it. Take it easy.